Have you ever experienced that pervasive, unsettling feeling? The sense that your autonomy is being eroded, that the narrative of your own life is being rewritten by someone else, and that the person you trusted most has a hidden, cold agenda. We are moving past common misunderstandings and trivial conflicts. We are delving into the deepest recesses of human manipulation. Dark psychology. Welcome back to the Bookkeeper, the channel dedicated to unlocking the most challenging and transformative knowledge found in powerful books. Today, we dedicate our full attention to the extensive and crucial study presented in The Dark Psychology. This is not a manual for exploitation, but a comprehensive guide on how to identify, analyze, and build an impenetrable defense against the masters of mental coercion in every sphere of life. This is not about living in fear. It is about demanding absolute clarity and achieving total psychological preparedness. If you leave this video thinking you've never encountered a manipulator, we urge you to listen carefully. Their greatest tactic is making themselves invisible. If you understand the gravity of this subject, show your support by hitting that like button. Now, let's begin the difficult work of uncovering the architecture of the manipulative mind. At the very foundation of dark psychology lies the three interconnected personality constructs known as the Dark Triad. Understanding these is the key to decoding every tactic that follows. First, narcissism. This is a profound self-obsession rooted in fragility. The narcissistic individual possesses an exaggerated sense of self-importance, demanding constant, excessive admiration, which the book calls narcissistic supply. Critically, they operate with a severe lack of empathy. They genuinely believe they are unique and superior, and therefore they are entitled to exploit others. They don't see their victims as people, but as extensions or resources whose sole purpose is to serve their ego. Second, Machiavellianism. This trait is characterized by a cold, calculating intellectualism divorced from emotion. The Machiavellian is profoundly cynical about human nature, assuming everyone is operating selfishly, which justifies their own strategic dishonesty. They view every interaction, personal or professional, as a zero-sum game. The goal is always self-advancement, and they will employ tactical deception, political maneuvering, and calculated betrayals without any internal conflict, adhering to the chilling logic that the effectiveness of the outcome always outweighs the morality of the method. And finally, the most chilling, psychopathy. This is not simply cruelty, but a structural incapacity for emotional connection and remorse. The psychopath displays emotional detachment, high impulsivity, and a total absence of conscience or guilt. They are masters of the mask of sanity, often appearing charming, persuasive, and even successful. However, underneath that veneer, they are emotionally hollow. They pursue stimulation and gratification, using people as interchangeable objects to achieve immediate wants, entirely unburdened by the consequences to others. The pivotal insight is that these traits are rarely isolated. They can blend, overlap, and manifest in varying degrees of danger. Recognizing even a high concentration of one trait should immediately raise a red flag. This deep comprehension of the triad is the essential first step in effective self-defense. Now, let's dismantle the manipulative toolkit itself, focusing on tactics that erode your stability and identity. We must first fully grasp gaslighting, the systematic denial of a victim's reality. The book details how this tactic progresses. It starts with trivial contradictions, escalates to blatant lies about events, and concludes with the manipulator blaming the victim for being too crazy or unstable to remember correctly. This is designed to break the victim's internal compass, making them utterly dependent on the manipulator for defining reality. Next, examine triangulation. This is the strategic introduction of a third party into a conflict to control the dynamic. It can be a rival, a perceived admirer, or a non-existent threat. The manipulator uses the third party to create jealousy, fear of loss, or competition in the victim, ensuring the victim's energy is consumed by focusing on the external threat rather than the manipulator's behavior. This effectively isolates the victim while the manipulator sits securely at the center of the drama. A particularly insidious tactic is negative conditioning and future faking. Negative conditioning involves using subtle, repeated punishments, like the silent treatment, criticism, or coldness, immediately following the victim's attempts to assert themselves or express a need. This teaches the victim that self-assertion equals pain. Conversely, future faking involves making elaborate, emotionally resonant promises about a shared, perfect future. This keeps the victim compliant and hopeful, enduring current abuse for a reward that the manipulator never intends to deliver. Then there is paltering and strategic ambiguity. This moves beyond simple lying. Paltering is the use of truthful information in a misleading way. For instance, stating only facts that benefit you while deliberately omitting crucial context. Strategic ambiguity is using vague language or conditional promises like "I'll try" or "maybe we can," which allows the manipulator to later deny commitment and blame the victim for misinterpreting their true intent. Finally, we must recognize the DARVO cycle. This aggressive defense mechanism is the ultimate deflection. It stands for deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. When confronted, the manipulator not only denies the accusation, but immediately launches a counterattack on the victim's character, finally casting themselves as the actual victim of unfair persecution. This is psychological jujitsu, instantly shifting the burden of guilt and forcing the victim to defend their sanity rather than address the original offense. If you are seeing these patterns clearly for the first time, you are gaining immense power. If this breakdown is helping you connect the dots in past or current relationships, please pause for a moment and subscribe to the Bookkeeper. Your support is vital for us to continue disseminating this crucial, life-altering knowledge. So, how do we establish an unbreachable psychological shield against such complex and varied attacks? The book details a multi-layered approach to defense and resilience. Defense Step 1. Implement the principle of non-engagement. The entire mechanism of dark psychology relies on extracting an emotional reaction or supply. Your first defense is simply refusing to participate in their chosen drama. Cut the circuit. When an attack is launched, treat it as irrelevant noise or a predictable pattern. This is best enacted through the gray rock method. When dealing with a toxic individual, consciously become the most boring, emotionally unresponsive person in the room. Your responses should be minimal, factual, and delivered with zero emotional investment. The goal is to make the engagement so dull that the manipulator, who craves drama, starves for the emotional energy you withhold and seeks a more reactive, fulfilling target elsewhere. Defense. Step 2. Master the art of absolute boundaries. A boundary is not a negotiable request. It is a clear statement of personal policy. The boundaries must be meticulously defined and non-negotiable, and they must carry a tangible consequence for violation. For example, if you call me a liar again, this phone call will end. And when they cross it, you must immediately enforce the consequence. Consistency is the weapon of deterrence. Defense. Step 3. Cultivate radical self-awareness and documentation. Knowledge is your greatest defense. Manipulators exploit your wounds. You must know your own emotional triggers, your need for approval, your people-pleasing tendencies, or your fear of confrontation better than they do. The book strongly advises journaling. Document specific manipulative incidents, noting the tactic used, your emotional reaction, and the time date. This documented record is your objective truth, your anchor against gaslighting. Defense. Step 4. Prioritize external validation and recovery. Manipulators thrive on isolation. The cycle of abuse warps your sense of normal. The fastest way to recalibrate your reality is to seek out trusted third parties, a therapist, a supportive family member, or a professional coach. External validation confirms that, yes, this happened, and no, this is not normal behavior. This essential step breaks the toxic narrative and begins the long, vital process of emotional recovery and rebuilding self-worth. The ultimate wisdom we draw from the dark psychology is profoundly empowering. The knowledge of darkness is not intended to breed suspicion of everyone, but to encourage a life lived with total cognitive awareness. This book serves as your essential map and warning beacon, ensuring that you can identify and neutralize threats before they can take root. Acquiring this knowledge is perhaps the most important act of self-preservation available today. It empowers you to protect your identity, your resources, your career, and above all, your peace of mind. Never forget, you cannot win the game until you fully understand the rules of play. We urge you to seek out and read this book. It is the necessary, demanding lesson that transforms understanding into invincibility. Thank you for joining the Bookkeeper for this comprehensive and vital exploration of the dark psychology. We want to hear from you. Which of the advanced tactics, negative conditioning, or the Darvo cycle, do you find the most difficult to counter? Share your experiences and any successful defense mechanisms you've developed in the comments below. Let's make this community a hub for shared strength and empowerment. Don't forget to like this video to help amplify this crucial message. Subscribe to the Bookkeeper and ring that notification bell. We are here to deliver the essential knowledge that transforms your understanding of power and humanity. Until next time, be aware, be wise, and always keep your boundaries strong.